Kiravel sat in the white room and stared at the wall. She had been sitting here for 3 hours. The walls were smooth and clean. There were no windows. The only light came from panels in the ceiling that never turned off. She knew they were watching her. They were always watching. Behind the walls, dozens of alien scientists studied her every move. They wrote notes about how she breathed. They measured her heart rate. They recorded what she ate and when she slept. Professor Thane Ix stood in the observation room next to the white chamber. His 4 eyes focused on different screens at once. Each screen showed data about the girl inside. Brain waves, body temperature, stress levels, chemical reactions in her blood. Everything about Kiravel was measured and recorded. "Subject shows no signs of compliance," said Dr. Veltara, his assistant. She had been working on this case for 6 months. The neural conditioning from yesterday had no effect. Thanix made a clicking sound with his throat. It was how his species showed frustration. "Run the test again," he said. "Sir, we have already tried the Voltharian method 12 times. Each time she resists more strongly than before." The professor turned all 4 eyes toward his assistant. "Then we will try it a 13th time." Inside the white room, Kiravel heard a soft humming sound. She knew what was coming. The walls would start to glow. Then strange thoughts would try to push into her mind. Thoughts that were not her own. Thoughts that tried to make her quiet and obedient. The first time they did this, she had been scared. The second time, she had been angry. Now she was just tired. But she would not give up. She would never give up. The walls began to glow with a soft blue light. Kiravel closed her silver eyes and felt the alien thoughts pressing against her mind. They felt cold and sharp. They tried to tell her that fighting was wrong. They tried to make her want to obey. She pushed back. In her mind, she built walls of her own. Strong walls made of anger and stubbornness and the memory of her home planet. The alien thoughts crashed against these walls like waves against rocks. The blue light grew brighter. The humming got louder. Kiravel felt pain in her head, but she did not move. She had learned that moving during the test only made it last longer. After 20 minutes, the light faded. The humming stopped. Kiravel opened her eyes and looked at the wall where she knew the cameras were hidden. "Still here," she said out loud. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with defiance. In the observation room, Professor Thanix watched the readings on his screens. Every test showed the same result. The girl's mind was completely untouched by their most advanced techniques. "How is this possible?" Dr. Veltara asked. "The Voltharian neural restructuring works on every known species. It has a 100% success rate." "Apparently not," Thanix replied. He had spent his entire career studying minds. He had helped create perfect societies where crime did not exist because no one could think criminal thoughts. He had turned violent warriors into peaceful farmers with a single treatment. But this one small alien girl made all his knowledge useless. The door to the observation room opened. Admiral Zexathul of the Galactic Council walked in. His blue skin was marked with the silver tattoos that showed his high rank. "Professor," the Admiral said, "the Council is growing impatient. This subject has been here for 8 months. 8 months of our most advanced techniques failing completely. The other species are starting to ask questions." Thanix knew what the Admiral meant. Other alien civilizations were beginning to wonder if the Zephyrian Academy was losing its reputation. For 200 years, they had been the best at behavioral modification in the galaxy. Governments sent their worst criminals here to be fixed. Military leaders brought soldiers who could not follow orders. Parents brought children who would not obey. Everyone who came to the Academy left as a different person. A better person, according to their families and governments. Someone who followed rules and never caused trouble. Everyone except Kiravel. "What do you suggest, Admiral?" Thanix asked. "Issue a challenge," Zexathul said. "Invite every advanced civilization in the galaxy to try their methods on this subject. Whoever succeeds will receive our complete database of behavioral modification techniques." Dr. Veltara's breathing quickened. "Sir, that database contains the secrets of mind control that we have developed over centuries. It is worth more than entire star systems." "Exactly," the Admiral said. "No one will be able to resist such a prize, and when they all fail, we can claim that this subject is simply impossible to modify. Our reputation will be saved. Professor Thanex looked at the screen showing Kiravel. She had not moved from her position against the wall. Her silver eyes were still open, still defiant. "And if someone succeeds?" he asked. Admiral Zexathol's face darkened. "No one will succeed. Look at her psychological profile. She has resisted 12 different species' most advanced techniques. Her mind is simply broken in a way that makes her immune to modification." In the White Room, Kiravel heard voices through the walls. She could not understand the words, but she knew they were talking about her. They always talked about her like she was a puzzle to solve or a machine to fix. She remembered her home planet. Green skies and purple oceans. Her family's house built into the side of a crystal mountain. Her little brother chasing flying lizards through the garden. Her mother teaching her to use her telepathic gifts. "Your mind is special, Kira," her mother had said. "It is strong and beautiful. Never let anyone change it." But then the Academy Scouts came. They said Kira's telepathic abilities were too strong for a normal school. They said she needed special training to control her gifts. They promised her parents that she would come home after 1 year, fully trained and ready to be a productive member of society. That was 3 years ago. Kira had learned quickly that the Academy did not want to train her gifts. They wanted to remove them. They wanted to make her mind smaller and quieter and easier to control. She had refused from the first day. Every test, every treatment, every attempt to change her thoughts had failed, and with each failure, she had grown stronger in her resistance. Now she could hear the alien thoughts in the walls around her, the scientists and doctors and professors all thinking the same thing. Why won't she break? Kira smiled for the first time in weeks. She would never break because breaking meant forgetting who she was. It meant forgetting her family and her home and everything that made her special. She would rather die first. Professor Thanex finished reading Kiravel's latest psychological evaluation. Every number and measurement confirmed what he already knew. Her mind showed no signs of modification despite months of intensive treatment. "Send the challenge to every major civilization in the galaxy," he told Dr. Veltara. "Include her complete file and test results. Make it clear that whoever can successfully modify her behavior will receive our entire behavioral control database." As his assistant left to prepare the transmission, Thanex looked at Kiravel one more time. She was still sitting against the wall, still staring at the cameras with those burning silver eyes. For just a moment, he wondered if they were approaching this problem wrong. What if the goal was not to change her mind, but to understand why it could not be changed? Then he dismissed the thought. Understanding was not the goal, control was the goal, and soon the greatest minds in the galaxy would come to help him achieve it. He did not know that he was about to discover something that would shake the foundation of every advanced civilization in the galaxy. The first ship to arrive was massive and black. It hung in space above the Academy like a metal mountain. The Nexus Collective had come to try their hand at fixing Kiravel. 3 beings walked into the Academy. They looked like machines shaped like people. Their skin was silver metal. Their eyes glowed blue. When they moved, soft clicking sounds came from their joints. "We are Unity 779, they said in perfect unison. All 3 spoke the same words at the same time. "We have come to integrate the defective unit into our network." Professor Thanex led them to the observation room. Through the window, they could see Kiravel in her white chamber. She was drawing pictures on the wall with her finger. The pictures showed stars and planets and flying creatures from her home world. "Subject shows continued resistance to all modification attempts," Thanex explained. "Her mind appears to be immune to external influence." Unity 779 studied Kiravel for several minutes. Their blue eyes scanned her from different angles. Internal computers processed thousands of calculations per second. "Individual consciousness is the error," they said together. "We will connect her to our network. She will share our thoughts. Her resistance will become impossible." The Nexus Collective had perfected this technique over 1,000 years. Every member of their species was connected to a vast computer network that shared thoughts and emotions. Crime was impossible because everyone thought the same thoughts. War was impossible because everyone wanted the same things. Individual desires that caused problems simply disappeared when merged with the collective will. They brought their equipment into Kiravel's chamber. Silver cables snaked across the floor. A metal helmet with dozens of wires sat on a table. The helmet would connect directly to her brain and force her mind to join their network. "This will not hurt," Unity 779 told Kiravel. "You will simply stop being you and start being us." Kiravel looked at the helmet. She could feel the electronic thoughts buzzing inside it like angry insects. Cold, mechanical thoughts that had no room for dreams or emotions or individual ideas. "No," she said simply. "Resistance is pointless," they replied. "Your individual will cannot fight our collective consciousness." They placed the helmet on her head. Immediately, Kiravel felt thousands of alien minds pressing against her own. They all thought exactly the same thoughts. They all wanted exactly the same things. They tried to wash away her personality like water washing away sand. But Kiravel's mind was not sand. It was rock. Hard, stubborn rock that had been shaped by 3 years of resistance. She pushed back against the collective consciousness with all her strength. Something unexpected happened. Instead of her mind joining the network, pieces of her individuality began flowing into it. The Nexus beings connected to the helmet suddenly stopped moving in unison. One of them looked around the room with curiosity instead of mechanical purpose. Another began humming a song that had no logical function. The third started asking questions that had no practical answers. What am I?" one of them said. The other two stared at their companion with confusion. In the observation room, Professor Thanex watched in amazement. The readings showed that Kiravel was somehow corrupting the Nexus network instead of being absorbed by it. Unity 779 quickly disconnected the helmet, but the damage was done. 3 of their members now showed signs of individual thought patterns, something that had not happened in their species for over a millennium. "Malfunction," they said, but their voices were no longer perfectly synchronized. "Dangerous malfunction detected. Withdrawal necessary." They left the academy within an hour, taking their corrupted members back to their ship for emergency repairs. Professor Thanex received a message shortly after. The Nexus Collective had failed. The subject's mind was somehow infectious. The next visitors arrived in a ship made of pure energy. The Lumina were beings of light who had mastered emotional control on a quantum level. They could calm the most violent criminals with a touch. They could fill depressed minds with pure joy. They could remove fear, anger, hatred, and every other emotion that caused problems in society. "Emotions are the root of all conflict," their leader, Bright Star Dancing, explained to Professor Thanex. "We will simply remove the emotions that make her resist. She will become peaceful and cooperative." The Lumina surrounded Kiravel with waves of golden light. The light was supposed to wash away negative emotions and replace them with calm contentment. Every being they had ever treated became peaceful and happy within minutes. Kiravel felt the light touching her mind. It tried to take away her anger at being imprisoned. It tried to remove her sadness at missing her family. It tried to steal her determination to resist. But she realized something important. Without anger, she would not fight for her freedom. Without sadness, she would not remember what she had lost. Without determination, she would become empty. Her emotions were not problems to be solved. They were parts of herself that made her who she was. She grabbed hold of her feelings and held them tight. The golden light swirled around her, but it could not take what she would not give up. Instead, she began absorbing the energy itself. Her own bioelectric field grew brighter and more chaotic. Sparks of silver light danced around her body. The Lumina's carefully controlled energy became wild and unpredictable in her presence. "Impossible," Bright Star Dancing whispered. "She is absorbing our calming energy and making it into something else." The equipment in the chamber began sparking and smoking. Lights flickered throughout the academy. Kiravel's energy field grew so strong that it interfered with electronics 3 floors away. The Lumina retreated quickly, their own energy patterns disrupted by contact with her chaotic field. They left behind damaged equipment and a message. The subject's emotional patterns were too unstable to modify safely. Professor Thanex was beginning to feel worried. 2 of the galaxy's most advanced civilizations had failed completely. Worse, Both had suffered damage from the attempt. The third group to arrive called themselves the Ancient Philosophers of Titan's Edge. They were old beyond measure, having existed for millions of years. They claimed to understand the deepest truths of consciousness and reality. Young minds resist because they do not understand, their spokesperson, Eternal Wisdom Seeking, explained. We will trap her thoughts in logical paradoxes. When her mind cannot solve the puzzles we present, it will accept our guidance. They entered Kiravel's chamber, carrying only their ancient knowledge. No machines, no energy weapons, no technological tricks, just pure mental discipline developed over eons of existence. Child, Eternal Wisdom Seeking said to Kiravel, answer this. Can an all-powerful being create a stone too heavy for itself to lift? It was a classic paradox designed to confuse logical thinking. Most minds would become trapped trying to solve the impossible puzzle. Kiravel thought for a moment. Then she smiled. That's easy. An all-powerful being wouldn't need to lift stones. It would just move the planet underneath the stone instead. The ancient philosopher was surprised. Very well. Consider this. If you always lie, and you say, I am lying, are you telling the truth or lying? Neither, Kiravel replied. I'm asking a meaningless question. It's like asking what color the number 7 smells like. For 3 hours, the ancient philosophers presented increasingly complex paradoxes. Kiravel solved each one with creative thinking that went beyond the logical traps they set. Worse, she began creating paradoxes of her own. If you've lived for millions of years and gained all this wisdom, she asked, why do you still need to control other people's thoughts? Doesn't true wisdom mean accepting that some minds should stay free? The ancient philosophers found themselves questioning ideas they had held for millennia. Eternal Wisdom Seeking left the chamber looking confused and troubled. The child's mind operates on principles we do not understand, he told Professor Thanex. She does not think in ways that can be trapped by logic. We cannot help you. As word spread through the galaxy about these failures, more species arrived. Each brought their most advanced techniques. Each left defeated and sometimes damaged by the encounter. The Voidwalkers tried to erase Kiravel's memories completely. Instead, she somehow held on to memories they thought were impossible to keep. The Dreamweavers attempted to trap her in artificial realities. She recognized every illusion and broke free within minutes. The probability masters tried to alter quantum fields around her brain. She adapted to each change faster than they could implement new ones. With each failure, Kiravel grew stronger and more confident. She began to understand something that terrified the watching scientists. She was not broken or defective. She was simply free in a way that none of these advanced civilizations could comprehend. Professor Thanex studied the reports from each failed attempt. Every species had the same conclusion. The subject's mind operated on principles that their science could not explain or control. But worse than the failures was what the attempts revealed about the visiting civilizations themselves. Each species had achieved perfect order by sacrificing something essential. The Nexus had given up individuality. The Lumina had eliminated meaningful emotions. The ancient philosophers had become so detached from life that they had forgotten what it meant to truly exist. Kiravel's resistance was showing them what they had lost. And that revelation was more disturbing than any failed experiment. As the latest group of specialists packed their equipment and prepared to leave, Professor Thanex received an unexpected communication. It came from a small, primitive civilization that most of the galaxy barely acknowledged. Earth wanted to send a representative to attempt the challenge. The professor almost deleted the message immediately. Humans were newcomers to galactic society. They had only developed faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. What could they possibly offer that the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy could not? But his pride had been wounded by the mounting failures. If even the primitive humans failed, it would prove that Kiravel was truly impossible to control. He sent back an acceptance. The humans could try their primitive techniques on the untamable alien girl. He had no idea that he was about to learn why humans were the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Dr. Maya Rodriguez sat in her small office on Mars Station, watching the galactic news on her old computer screen. The story about the impossible alien girl had been running for weeks. Every major civilization in the galaxy was talking about the challenge at the Zephyrian Academy. Maya worked as a trauma therapist for human refugees. People who had survived wars, accidents, and terrible experiences came to her for help. She had spent 15 years learning to heal damaged minds, not control them. As she watched footage of Kiravel sitting alone in the White Chamber, Maya felt something that the alien scientists did not: sympathy. She saw a young person who had been hurt, not a problem that needed fixing. "They're torturing her," she said to her assistant, Dr. Kate Miller. "They've been experimenting on that girl for almost a year." Kate looked at the screen. "The reports say she's dangerous. Her mind can't be controlled. She's already damaged several species' most advanced equipment." "She's not dangerous," Maya replied. "She's scared and angry and alone. Anyone would resist if they were being treated like a laboratory animal." Maya had read every report about Kiravel that was made public. The alien scientists described her as defective, broken, immune to proper behavioral modification. But Maya saw the signs of someone suffering from severe trauma. The girl had been taken from her family at a young age. She had been subjected to hundreds of invasive mental procedures. She had been isolated, studied, and treated like an object instead of a person. Of course, she was fighting back. "I want to volunteer for the challenge," Maya told Kate. "Are you insane?" Kate stared at her friend in shock. "You're talking about going up against the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy, species that have perfected mind control for thousands of years. They all failed." "They failed because they're trying to control her," Maya said. "What if the solution isn't to change her mind, but to heal it?" Kate shook her head. "Maya, you're a good therapist, but this is beyond human science. We're talking about alien psychology, telepathic abilities, technologies we can't even understand." But Maya had made up her mind. She contacted Captain Lisa Park, who commanded the human diplomatic ship New Horizon. The ship was small and old compared to the massive vessels of other species, but it could travel between star systems. Captain Park was not enthusiastic about the idea. "Dr. Rodriguez, Earth has been trying to gain respect in galactic politics for 50 years. This challenge is a way for advanced civilizations to prove their superiority. If we fail publicly, it will set back human diplomacy for generations." "And if we succeed?" Maya asked. "We won't succeed," Captain Park replied bluntly. "The Nexus Collective failed. The Lumina failed. Ancient civilizations with millions of years of experience failed. What makes you think one human therapist can do better?" Maya thought about her patients. Soldiers who had been broken by war but learned to live again. Children who had survived terrible abuse but grew up to be strong and healthy. Refugees who had lost everything but found the courage to start over. "Because I don't want to control her," Maya said. "I want to help her." Captain Park studied Maya's file. She was one of the best trauma therapists in human space. Her success rate with difficult cases was remarkable. But this was not a human patient with understandable problems. "The other species will laugh at us," Captain Park warned. "They already think humans are primitive barbarians. When they see our advanced technology is just talking to people, we'll become a joke." "Let them laugh," Maya replied. "That girl needs help, not more experiments." After 3 days of consideration, Captain Park agreed to the mission. Perhaps it was curiosity about what would happen. Perhaps it was the slim chance that success would give humanity incredible prestige. Or perhaps she was simply tired of watching a young person suffer while the galaxy's greatest minds treated her like a puzzle to solve. The New Horizon was tiny compared to the ships already surrounding the Academy. When it requested permission to dock, several alien species monitored the communication with amusement. "The humans have arrived," Admiral Zexathul told Professor Thanex. "I've reviewed their submitted materials. They want to send a single individual with no advanced technology." "What is their proposed method?" Thanex asked. "Something they call talk therapy. As far as I can understand, their representative plans to have conversations with the subject." Both aliens made clicking sounds of amusement. The idea was so primitive it was almost insulting. After months of watching the galaxy's most sophisticated technologies fail, the humans wanted to try talking. "Let them make their attempt," Thanex decided. It will provide entertainment for the other observers, and when they fail as quickly as the others, it will prove that the subject is truly impossible to control. Word of the human attempt spread quickly through the academy. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in the observation areas to watch. Betting pools formed among several civilizations about how long the human would last. Most estimates ranged from minutes to hours. Dr. Maya Rodriguez docked with the academy carrying only a small bag of personal items. She had no machines, no energy weapons, no advanced scanning equipment. The most sophisticated tool she brought was a paper notebook and an old-fashioned pen. When the alien scientists saw her equipment, several laughed openly. Others expressed concern that this was some kind of joke or insult. Maya was escorted to a briefing room where Professor Thanex explained the situation. Dr. Rodriguez, I must warn you that this subject is extremely dangerous. She has already caused significant damage to several species' most advanced systems. Her mind appears to be completely resistant to modification. I've read the reports, Maya replied, but I'm not here to modify her mind. I'm here to understand it. This statement caused confusion among the alien observers. Understanding was not the goal of the challenge. Control was the goal. Behavioral modification was the goal. Making the subject compliant and cooperative was the goal. Perhaps there has been a miscommunication, Dr. Veltara suggested. The challenge is to successfully alter the subject's behavioral patterns, to make her obedient and compliant. I understand the challenge, Maya said calmly, but my approach is different. Instead of forcing changes, I want to help her choose to cooperate. The aliens exchanged glances. This was not how behavioral modification worked. You did not ask subjects to choose their own behavior. You programmed the behavior you wanted and implemented it directly into their neural patterns. Your species appears to misunderstand the nature of consciousness control, Professor Thanex said carefully. The subject's individual will is the obstacle to overcome, not something to negotiate with. Maya smiled. Professor, human psychology has learned that individual will is not an obstacle. It's the most powerful tool for creating positive change, but it only works when the person feels safe and respected. The watching aliens found this philosophy disturbing. The idea that consciousness should be respected rather than controlled challenged the foundation of their ordered societies. Every advanced civilization had achieved peace and stability by eliminating individual will that caused problems. Maya was taken to the observation room where she could see Kiravel through the window. The alien girl was sitting in her usual position against the wall, staring at the cameras with defiant silver eyes. She looks exhausted, Maya observed. When was the last time she had normal social interaction? Social interaction is not relevant to behavioral modification, Dr. Veltara replied. The subject receives adequate nutrition and medical care. But no friendship, no kindness, no one treating her like a person instead of an experiment. Maya studied Kiravel through the window. She saw the signs she recognized from her human patients: defensive posture, hypervigilance, emotional walls built from months of trauma. This girl was not broken or defective. She was a normal person having a normal reaction to abnormal treatment. I'd like to enter her chamber now, Maya said. Do you require any protective equipment? Professor Thanex asked. Energy shields, neural dampeners, thought barriers? No, Maya replied. Just this. She held up her wooden chair and notebook. The aliens stared at her primitive tools with a mixture of confusion and pity. After months of watching the galaxy's most advanced technologies fail, the human was going to try furniture and paper. As Maya walked toward Kiravel's chamber, whispered conversations broke out among the observers. Some species bet on how quickly the human would flee. Others wondered if this was some elaborate human joke they did not understand. Professor Thanex activated the recording equipment to document what he expected would be the shortest failure yet. Behind him, representatives from 40 different civilizations watched with amusement and curiosity. None of them suspected that they were about to witness something that would change their understanding of consciousness itself. Maya stood outside the door to Kiravel's chamber and took a deep breath. Through the window, she could see the young alien girl who had defeated the greatest minds in the galaxy. She was not afraid. In 15 years of therapy work, she had learned that the most damaged minds were often the strongest ones. People who had survived terrible experiences and refused to break were not defective. They were heroes. Maya opened the door and stepped inside, carrying her chair and notebook. Behind her, 40 alien civilizations watched to see what the primitive human would do. She was about to show them what they had forgotten in their quest for perfect control, the power of treating another being with simple human dignity. Maya set her wooden chair down across from Kiravel and sat down slowly. She made no sudden movements. She did not point any devices at the alien girl. She did not start by explaining what she was going to do. Instead, she simply looked at Kiravel and said, "How are you feeling?" The question hit Kiravel like a physical shock. In 11 months of testing, experiments, and procedures, no one had asked her how she felt. They had asked about her compliance levels, her resistance patterns, her neural responses, her behavioral modifications, but never about her feelings. Kiravel's silver eyes narrowed with suspicion. This had to be another trick, another way to get inside her mind and change it. "What do you want?" she asked. "I want to know how you're feeling," Maya repeated gently. "Are you tired, scared, angry? All of those things?" "Why?" Kiravel's voice was sharp with distrust. "Because feelings matter," Maya said. "They're part of who you are, and I think you've been hurt, and I'm sorry that happened to you." In the observation room, the alien scientists watched this exchange with growing confusion. Dr. Veltara turned to Professor Thanex. "What is the human doing? When will she begin the real treatment?" "I believe this is the treatment," Thanex replied, studying the readings from Kiravel's chamber. "Though I fail to understand the methodology." Several alien observers exchanged glances. The human appeared to be having a normal conversation with the subject. There were no energy fields, no neural interfaces, no attempts to access Kiravel's mind directly. Just two beings talking to each other. "This is not behavioral modification," Unity 779 observed. Their 3 representatives had remained to study other species' techniques. The human is making no attempt to alter the subject's thought patterns. Kiravel continued to stare at Maya with suspicion, but something in the human's voice was different from all the others. Maya's tone was warm instead of clinical. Her eyes showed concern instead of scientific curiosity. She sat in a relaxed position instead of the rigid posture of researchers. "You're not going to try to change my mind?" Kiravel asked. "No," Maya said simply. "Your mind belongs to you." This statement caused actual alarm among some of the watching aliens. The idea that a consciousness belonged to the individual instead of the society was dangerous. It suggested that people had the right to think thoughts that others did not approve of. "Then what do you want?" Kiravel asked again. "I want to understand why you're fighting so hard," Maya replied. "In my experience, when someone resists this strongly, they're usually protecting something important." For the first time in months, Kiravel felt something unexpected: curiosity. This human was nothing like the others. She was not trying to solve Kiravel like a problem or fix her like a broken machine. "You're different," Kiravel said. "How am I different?" "You're not afraid of me." Maya smiled. "Should I be afraid of you?" "Everyone else is. They think my mind is dangerous because they can't control it." "I don't think uncontrollable minds are dangerous," Maya said. "I think they're precious. Some of the best people I know have minds that can't be controlled by others." This was such a foreign concept to the alien observers that several began urgent discussions among themselves. In their civilizations, uncontrollable minds were the source of crime, war, and social disorder. The whole purpose of behavioral modification was to eliminate such minds. Kiravel studied Maya carefully. She could sense the human's thoughts with her telepathic abilities, but what she found confused her. Maya was not trying to hide anything. Her mind was open and honest. She really did want to help, not to control. "Tell me about your home," Maya said. "What was it like before you came here?" The question caught Kiravel off guard. None of the other researchers had asked about her life before the academy. They only cared about her current behavioral problems. Slowly, carefully, Kiravel began to talk. She described her home planet with its green skies and purple oceans. She talked about her family's house built into a crystal mountain. She told Maya about her little brother and the flying lizards in their garden. As she spoke, her voice grew softer and less defensive. Maya listened without interrupting, without taking notes, without analyzing every word for signs of mental instability. "It sounds beautiful," Maya said when Kiravel finished. "You must miss it very much." "I do," Kiravel whispered. For the first time in months, tears appeared in her silver eyes. In the observation room, the alien scientists watched readings that they had never seen before. Kiravel's stress levels were dropping, her defensive neural patterns were relaxing, but she was not becoming compliant or obedient. Instead, she was becoming more genuinely herself. "Fascinating," Dr. Veltara murmured. "The subject's psychological barriers are lowering, but her individual identity is becoming stronger, not weaker." Maya continued to talk with Kiravel throughout the day. She shared stories about her own life on Earth. She told Kiravel about her work helping people who had been hurt. She explained how human psychology approached mental healing. "We don't try to fix people," Maya said. "We try to understand why they're in pain and help them heal from it." "But I'm not in pain," Kiravel protested. "I'm angry." "Anger is often how we express pain," Maya replied. "When someone hurts us, anger helps us fight back. It's not a bad emotion, it's a protective emotion." This was a revolutionary concept to the watching aliens. In their societies, anger was a negative emotion to be eliminated. They had never considered that it might serve a useful purpose. "Tell me about the first time they tried to change your mind," Maya said gently. Kiravel's expression darkened. "It was 3 days after I arrived. They said it was just a test to measure my telepathic abilities, but when they put the helmet on my head, it tried to make me forget my mother's face." "That must have been terrifying." "It was. I fought as hard as I could because forgetting my mother would be like losing part of myself." Maya nodded with understanding. "Of course you fought. Anyone would fight to protect their memories of the people they love." For the first time, Kiravel felt that someone understood why she resisted. She was not being stubborn or defective. She was protecting the most important parts of herself. Over the following days, Maya continued her simple approach. She listened to Kiravel's experiences. She validated the girl's feelings. She helped Kiravel understand that her emotional responses were normal and healthy. The alien observers grew increasingly agitated as time passed without any apparent progress toward compliance. Some demanded to know when Maya would begin the real behavioral modification. Others accused her of failing to understand the challenge. "The human is not following proper protocols," Admiral Zexathol complained to Professor Thanex. "She appears to be encouraging the subject's resistance rather than eliminating it." Yet the subject's aggression levels continue to decrease, Thanex noted, and her willingness to communicate has improved dramatically. "But she is not becoming obedient." "No," Thanex agreed. "She is becoming something else." On the 4th day, something remarkable happened. Kiravel began asking Maya questions about human society and culture. She wanted to know how humans handled conflict without erasing individual thoughts. She was curious about human families and relationships. "On my world," Kiravel said, "telepaths are feared because we can sense other people's true thoughts. We're usually isolated or controlled to prevent us from causing problems." "That sounds lonely," Maya replied. "It is. But here at the Academy, I learned that non-telepaths can be just as controlling. They just use machines instead of mental abilities." Maya nodded. "Some humans are afraid of differences too. But we've learned that differences make us stronger, not weaker." "How?" "Because different perspectives help us solve problems in new ways. If everyone thinks exactly the same thoughts, we miss important possibilities." This conversation was overheard by the alien observers, many of whom had achieved social harmony by eliminating different perspectives. The idea that diversity of thought was valuable rather than dangerous challenged their fundamental beliefs. On the fifth day, Kiravel made a decision that shocked everyone watching. She stood up and walked to the center of her chamber. "Dr. Rodriguez," she said formally, "I want to show you something." "What would you like to show me?" "I want to show you why I've been fighting so hard." Kiravel closed her silver eyes and reached out with her telepathic abilities. Gently, carefully, she shared her memories with Maya, not forcing them into the human's mind, but offering them as a gift. Maya saw Kiravel's experiences from the girl's perspective, the frightening journey to the academy as a child, the first brutal mental invasion that tried to erase her personality, months of procedures designed to break her will and remake her mind, the loneliness of being treated like an object instead of a person. But Maya also saw Kiravel's strength, her determination to remain herself no matter what they did to her love for her family that sustained her through the darkest moments, her refusal to let anyone steal the things that made her who she was. When the vision ended, Maya had tears in her eyes. "Thank you for sharing that with me," she said. "You are incredibly brave." "I'm not brave," Kiravel replied. "I'm just stubborn." Sometimes stubborn and brave are the same thing. In the observation room, Professor Tame watched the readings from Maya's neural scanner. The human's brain patterns showed deep emotional resonance with Kiravel's experiences. But instead of being damaged or controlled by the telepathic contact, Maya appeared to be strengthened by it. "How is this possible?" Dr. Veltara asked. "Direct telepathic contact with the subject has overwhelmed every other researcher." "The human is not trying to dominate the connection," Thanex realized. "She is participating in it as an equal." For the first time in his career, Professor Thanex began to question whether their approach to consciousness control was missing something fundamental. The human was achieving cooperation through respect instead of dominance, and somehow that was working where force had failed. But he was not prepared for what Maya would reveal next about why Kiravel's resistance was not a flaw to be corrected, but a strength to be celebrated. On the seventh day, something happened that no one expected. Kiravel walked to the door of her chamber and knocked. "Dr. Rodriguez," she called out, "may I speak with you?" Maya entered the chamber to find Kiravel standing in the center of the room instead of sitting against the wall. The alien girl's posture was different, still alert, still strong, but no longer defensive. "I've been thinking about our conversations," Kiravel said, "and I want to tell you something important." "I'm listening." "I'm ready to cooperate, not because anyone forced me to, but because I choose to." In the observation room, alarms began sounding. After 11 months of complete resistance, Kiravel was voluntarily agreeing to cooperate. But the readings showed something impossible. Her individual consciousness was stronger than ever, not weaker. Professor Thanex stared at the data in confusion. "This makes no sense. The subject shows full cooperative behavior, but zero signs of mental modification." Admiral Zexathol pushed forward to the viewing window. "Are you certain the human has not used some form of behavioral control?" "The scans show no evidence of external mental influence," Dr. Veltara replied. "The subject appears to be making a genuine choice." The concept of genuine choice was foreign to most of the watching civilizations. In their experience, cooperation came from programming, not from individual decision-making. Maya sat down across from Kiravel. "What changed your mind?" "You treated me like a person instead of a problem," Kiravel replied. "For the first time in almost a year, someone cared about my feelings instead of just my behavior." "Your feelings are important," Maya said. "They're part of what makes you who you are." "That's what I want to show everyone," Kiravel said. "I want to demonstrate why I've been fighting so hard and what all these tests have really been doing." "What do you mean?" Kiravel's silver eyes began to glow softly. "I want to share my memories with everyone watching, not just you, but all the scientists and observers. I want them to see what their behavioral modification really looks like from the inside." Maya felt a chill of understanding. "Are you sure you want to do that? It might be very difficult for them to see." "They need to see it," Kiravel said firmly. "Someone has to show them what they're really doing." Maya nodded and stood up. She walked to the wall where she knew the cameras were hidden and spoke directly to the observers. Professor Thanex, Kiravel would like to demonstrate something for everyone watching. She's going to share her telepathic memories of the experiments that have been performed on her. I think you should all see this. In the observation room, excited discussions broke out among the alien representatives. Direct access to the subjects' memories of the failed experiments could provide valuable data about why their techniques had not worked. Fascinating, Unity 779 said. We can analyze her neural patterns during each failed procedure. Agreed, said Bright Star Dancing of the Lumina. This data will help us improve our methods. Professor Thanex activated the telepathic receivers throughout the academy. Every observer would be able to experience Kiravel's memories directly. Begin when ready, he announced. Kiravel closed her eyes and reached out with her telepathic abilities, but instead of sharing her memories gently, as she had with Maya, she projected them with full intensity. Every alien in the academy suddenly experienced what she had experienced. They felt the terror of the first neural modification attempt as foreign thoughts tried to erase her personality. They experienced the agony of having their emotions stripped away by the Lumina's energy fields. They felt the confusion and disorientation of the Nexus Collective's attempt to absorb their individual consciousness. But most importantly, they felt something else. The desperate determination to remain themselves. The fierce love for family and home that gave strength to resist. The fundamental need to be accepted as they were, not changed into something else. For most of the alien observers, it was the first time they had experienced true individuality in centuries or millennia. Their civilizations had eliminated such feelings long ago in favor of peace and order. The effect was immediate and devastating. Unity 779 suddenly stopped moving in perfect synchronization. One of them began to cry, something that had not happened in their species for 1,000 years. I remember what it was like to be myself, one of them whispered. Bright Star Dancing of the Lumina flickered with chaotic energy patterns. The emotions. We took away all the emotions that made life worth living. Pain, yes, but also joy, excitement, wonder. How did we not realize? Even the ancient philosophers of Titan's Edge were shaken. Eternal wisdom-seeking spoke in a voice filled with something he had not felt in millions of years: doubt. In our quest to understand consciousness, we forgot what it means to be conscious. But the most profound effect was on Professor Thanex himself. As Kiravel's memories flowed through his mind, he experienced something he had never felt before: guilt. He saw his work from the perspective of his subjects, hundreds of thousands of beings who had been brought to the academy over the centuries, their minds modified, their personalities adjusted, their individual wills eliminated, all in the name of creating better, more cooperative citizens. But now he felt what it was like to be on the receiving end, the violation of having your thoughts changed against your will. The horror of losing pieces of yourself that could never be recovered. The fundamental wrongness of erasing someone's personality to make them easier to control. What have we done? He whispered. Dr. Veltara was experiencing the same revelation. We thought we were helping them, making them better, but we were killing the parts of them that made them who they were. Kiravel opened her silver eyes and looked at the cameras. Now you know, she said simply. Now you understand why I fought so hard. I wasn't being defective or broken. I was protecting the most important thing anyone has, the right to be myself. Maya stepped forward. That's what I want to tell all of you. Kiravel isn't cooperating now because I changed her mind. She's cooperating because I accepted her mind exactly as it is. But how is that possible? Admiral Zexathul asked through the communication system. His voice was shaking. Our societies require behavioral compliance to function. Without control, there is chaos. Is there? Maya asked. On Earth, we have billions of people with uncontrolled minds. Yes, we have problems. Yes, we have conflicts. But we also have creativity, innovation, love, art, music, literature, scientific breakthroughs. All the things that make life beautiful come from minds that are free to think in their own ways. Professor Thanex looked at the data from centuries of behavioral modification. success rates of nearly 100%, perfect compliance from treated subjects, peaceful, orderly societies across the galaxy. But suddenly he understood the cost. Every success meant erasing someone's individuality. Every peaceful society was built on the graves of personalities that had been eliminated. Every advancement in behavioral control was a step further away from genuine consciousness. "The human is right," he said quietly. "We have not been healing minds. We have been destroying them." Kiravel walked to the door of her chamber. "I want to leave now," she said. "Not because anyone is making me, but because I choose to. Dr. Rodriguez has shown me that there are places in the galaxy where beings like me can exist without being fixed or controlled." Maya opened the door. "You're free to go whenever you want." "What about the challenge?" Admiral Zexithol asked. "Has the human succeeded or failed?" Maya looked at the cameras. "That depends on how you define success. If success means controlling Kiravel's behavior, then I've failed completely. Her mind is exactly as free and individual as it was when I arrived." "Then how is this different from all the other failures?" "Because now she's choosing to cooperate instead of being forced to comply. She's making her own decisions about how to behave, based on mutual respect and understanding." The watching aliens struggled to comprehend this distinction. In their societies, the source of cooperative behavior did not matter, only the result. But Professor Thanex was beginning to understand. "Forced compliance is temporary," he said slowly. "It only lasts as long as the control mechanisms are maintained. But voluntary cooperation, that comes from within. It's more stable because it's genuine." Kiravel and Maya walked out of the chamber together, not as doctor and patient, but as friends who had found understanding across the vast differences between their species. Behind them, the greatest minds in the galaxy were left to contemplate a terrifying question. In their quest to control consciousness, had they forgotten what consciousness was for? As news of the human success spread through galactic civilization, some species began to re-examine their own behavioral modification programs. Others doubled down on control, frightened by the implications of Kiravel's freedom. But for Maya and Kiravel, traveling together aboard the small human ship New Horizon, the galaxy's reaction mattered less than the simple truth they had discovered. The most powerful force in the universe was not the ability to control minds, but the courage to respect them. Professor Thanex stood alone in his laboratory, surrounded by centuries of research into consciousness control. For the first time in his career, he wondered whether the greatest scientific advancement would be learning to leave minds alone. In the end, the challenge had been completed not by taming an untamable mind, but by recognizing that some minds should never be tamed at all. And perhaps, he realized, those were the minds that made consciousness worth having in the first place. The primitive humans had taught the galaxy's most advanced civilizations something they had forgotten in their quest for perfect order. Freedom was not a problem to be solved, but a gift to be protected. And sometimes the most dangerous idea in the universe was the simple recognition that every conscious being had the right to remain themselves.